everybody, and welcome. I'm going to ask all our panelists to show their screens, so they'll share their cameras at this point. We're going to get started here. Thank you for joining us. This is our webinar today, where we're going to be focusing on true real-time remote collaboration. And here's the agenda. We're going to get going fairly soon. First, we're going to talk about the challenges that we address with the solution, and our CEO Derek is going to take over that section. And then we're going to hand over to Andrew and Marco here, who are going to do a live demo of how Strawberry Skies can enable that remote collaboration. Then we'll have a section for live Q&A. Please use the Q&A panel at the bottom of the Zoom session to post your questions at any time. We will be monitoring the questions through the session, and we'll probably take all of the questions at the end or answer through the session as well. And then we'll give you a little bit of information about where to find out more. So stay with us. We are recording the session, so for sure the slides and the video recording will be available to all registrants after the session. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the team. Speaking today, we've got Derek, who's our CEO, Marco, our product owner and co-founder of Projective, and also Andrew, our solutions consultant. And they will be with us through the entire session, so feel free to post questions as we go along. So over to Derek.
Thanks, Faye, I appreciate it. So hi, everyone. We want to start it out with some of the traditional problems that everyone's facing in post-production. And if you signed up for this webinar, you know enough about post-production that all of these will be redundant or self-evident to you. But I feel like it helps to set the table for how we can help the Strawberry Skies. And the first issue that every post-production house has is that they just never have enough time, right? And part of the reason why we never have enough time is that there's always so many steps and so much complexity when it comes from taking raw content, working on it, and getting it out the door. So you really need to eliminate those unnecessary steps, and it really just doesn't have to be so complex. The second issue that I think we should highlight is just that there's just always a constant flood of content coming in, and keeping your head above water and managing that tide that's coming in. In order to do that, you need a framework. You need something that lets you scale your resources and your manpower. And as things grow, you need a platform that's going to scale with you. Thirdly, it's a traditional problem is that no one can ever find their media. Because things are in all these different siloed locations, it's impossible to find what you're looking for. And the traditional MAM approach can't really help you. It isn't designed to help you with those kind of work in progress, raw footage, project focused content. So all of those things are kind of the traditional issues that we see. But then there's another dimension that comes with those problems when you start to look to moving to the cloud. And moving post-production to the cloud adds additional kind of security issues of making sure that only the content that your people should be working with is available and everything else is protected. The unpredictable cost model of typical cloud infrastructure, that everyone's afraid of getting that bill at the end of the month for unknown or unpredictable egress costs, and so no one wants to get that bill. And then also there are a lot of tools that are kind of purpose built for a particular workflow, and I'm thinking about stuff like Frame.io or Iconic that can be really cool tools. But because they're typically separate from the actual project and post-production process, that can lead to silos, and then adding additional complexity of trying to get stuff between where the post-production is actually happening and the cloud-based tool. Now, we can address all of these issues. We designed a product that we're introducing today called Strawberry Skies to address these issues. It is a real-time, cloud-first collaboration framework. It is application independent. It is platform independent, so you can use it with different creative applications, but also with different kind of infrastructure tools. And basically, it solves a lot of these key issues. But rather than just restate those issues, I want to talk about our customer, TUI, and use some of their words and how they describe the benefits of the solution to their internal team. These are their words, not mine. They put these together, but I love the way they put it so much. I'm going to steal them. So basically, one of the things they talked about was how Skies enables them to collaborate beyond borders, not just the physical borders of a facility, but also the real actual national borders, geographic borders that they collaborate across. Also, they needed a robust security model because they work with freelancers, they work on different kinds of productions at any given time. They needed to have a really flexible yet robust way of controlling access to their content. And they also, because they're churning out so much content and so much diverse content, they really needed something that helped them with efficiency and speed to get scale. And because Skies is application independent, and because it's a common framework for all of their creative applications, it enabled them to get a lot of efficiency and speed into their workflow. And then also because they have the visual representation of their content, that's enabled them to unlock the creativity of their users because they can see and view more of the content, and they can actually use it in their work. And then, of course, Skies provides a predictable cost model. There's no egress fees, so you know exactly what you're paying at the end of the month. So you don't have to be afraid of the bill. But I realize that like talking about an asset management application is kind of the worst way to sell it. So let's show it to you. On that note, I will turn it over to Marco and Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. So I think before we get started with the demo, it would help to go a little bit into the architecture and what the Skies platform actually looks like from a infrastructure perspective. So what you see in front of you is actually the three, let's say, logical building blocks that make the infrastructure. And here on the very lower left, you can see we have the Skies users, which are our creative users, for example, and our review and approval users. What's important to note here is that Skies can be used with a variety of different creative applications. And as you can see here, this includes Avid, Premiere, and After Effects. But of course, it's not limited to this, right? You could also use this with Resolve, for example, or Pro Tools, or virtually any other application. So this is then available for macOS and Windows. So the look and feel on these platforms is identical. Then we have the review and approval users. We'll go into this later in this demo. And these users are the ones who can actually, yeah, as the name implies, review and approve the content. So the creative users are connected to what we call the Skies platform. And the Skies platform is actually the platform that is hosting all of the Skies infrastructure. This includes things like like the Skies hubs that serve as the secure gateway to access the compute platform. And then there's the compute platform that does things like, database maintenance and proxy encoding and all of the heavy lifting, really. And then in the back of this, we have the proxy storage, which is storing all of the preview files or the editing proxies that are created by Skies. So what's underneath all of this is the Skies drive that's powered by LucidLink. And this is the storage that gets accessed by both the compute instances of the Skies platform as well as the Skies users. And this is the technology that is serving the media to the users for editorial purposes, for example, but is also serving the media to the Skies platform for things like indexing and proxy encoding.
Yeah, thanks, Marco. So what we're going to show today is collaboration between myself and Marco. Now Marco is in Germany. I'm here in the UK, and we're going to collaborate using the Skies platform. We're going to do quite a common thing that occurs in post-production, in advertising, in all of our customer base, which is we're going to start a project in one location and then send that project to a freelance or a remote site. So Marco will create the project, he'll load some media on, and then I will play the role of a freelancer, and we'll demonstrate how easily that the Skies system makes this way of working.
All right, so what you see here in front of you is the Strawberry Skies client application. And this client application is available for macOS and Windows. And now you can see that we are asked to log into the application. So when it comes to login and authentication security, that's quite cool because we can have local user accounts, or you can also connect Skies with your existing Okta or Azure AD or Active Directory, or, we support a variety of different authentication or identity providers. So in my case here, I have a local user account set up. So what I do here is I just enter my username and my password. I accidentally pressed the wrong button here. And then once I'm logged in, you can see the Strawberry Skies UI. So what you see here on the top is, first of all, the information that no project is open because we haven't done anything yet. Below this, we have a search field where we can search for projects and for assets, and we will show you later how exactly this works. And below this, we can see actually a list of the projects that are available to me as a user in the system, right? So maybe talking briefly about projects, because I think this is always important to understand the wider concept. So a project in Skies is a container, and this container has content, for example, media content and project file content. This container has permissions, so you can share each project with any person you like, and we will also show this in a little bit. And each project is also automatically organized and secured on the Skies drive, so on the backend storage, to make sure that only people who have access on the project here in Strawberry have access to the project on the storage level as well.
Let me just add to that, Marco. So on the surface, a project is as simple as a folder. It's literally a local drive on your workstation. We support all the applications, not just video applications, graphics, 2D, 3D. We support every application, even the ones we don't know about. But within that simple folder structure, because Skies is keeping a watchful eye, you benefit from all of those additional things like templating, metadata, proxy generation, storage, tracking, reporting. So yeah, as simple as a folder, but as powerful as a Skies drive.
Cool, thanks. All right, then I'll say, let's just create a project and let's have a look of what this looks like in Premiere, right? So at first, you can see we have 3 buttons here. One button is called Logout, one is Inactive, and one is called New. So, it's obvious we want to click here on the New button. And now we see the project creation model. And it's basically asking me for project metadata. And this is quite special about this workflow because before we can actually start working with the project on the storage, we have to tell the system something about the project first. And of course, all of this is searchable later, right? So here you can see I have some pre-populated values in here, like a project ID. The admin or the media manager has created a drop-down menu here with, a list of example industries. Keep in mind, all of this is very specific to my demo system. Customers can design this in any way and shape and form they want to. So we click here on advertising because let's say we're creating something for an advertising client, and the client we're going with today maybe is Stark Industries. So the product then is Cortco. And the name of the actual project, this is the human recognizable name. So we could just call this like Marco PR demo. So you can see that Strawberry automatically generates this project name up here, which is a mixture of the metadata I've just provided and the name that I've typed in. But of course, you can change all of this to like any structure you want to, right? So if you want the metadata in the project name, fine. If you don't, fine. If you want to change the order or specify what metadata exactly should be in there, it's all customizable. Last but not least, in this step, we are choosing a template. And you can see I've created a list of templates here, and I will choose the Creative Cloud template because we're now going to work with Premiere.
Now let me cut in because I love talking about templates.
Sure thing.
They're awesome. I think the thing that a lot of other solutions software companies forget is that often the folder structure is the workflow. So rather than us tell you how to do your job as a post-production house, as an ad agency, as an audio dubbing facility, really we just needed to provide a platform that was flexible enough for every one of our customers to operate a slightly different workflow. So whether it's going for a 01 ingest, 02 edit, 03 archive, or something much more complex and nuanced that's in line with your business needs, the key thing is our template system lays out the folder structure. We add all of our awesomeness on top in terms of metadata, which we'll discuss later. But we give you that flexibility, but in a nice controlled way.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. All right, then let's proceed here with setting up the project. So I have put all the metadata in place. I've selected my template. So now when I click next, you can see I'm asked for a project description. In here, I can add some text if I want to, which will be searchable later, but I don't have to, it's optional. And then when I click next, I think this is the more important part. This is the part where I can assign the project to other individuals or to teams. So in my case here, I'm currently the only person who has access to the project, and I want to keep it like this. I might maybe share the project a little bit later. And now here's the interesting part. When I click on the create button, a few things are happening in the background. So first of all, the cloud system creates the project on the SkyDrive. And it also sets up the folder structure for the project. It sets up the project files. So what you see here now is the client telling me, hey, I have found a number of project files inside this newly created project. Which one do you want to open? And we say, okay, we want to go with Premiere. So we select this project file here, which is again coming from the template. And I want to double click here. Premiere will open and we can start editing in this project right away. Now that Premiere is open, you can first of all see that it also opened up the project. So this is the project here that was coming from the template. And you can also see that the project file got renamed after our Skies project, which is quite nice. You can also see there's already some bin structure set up in here, which is also coming from the template. So now what's cool about our Premiere workflow is that we've built an integration into Premiere. And this integration is called the Strawberry Skies panel, which you can see right up here. And this panel gives me the ability to search for media throughout my entire SkyDrive. It gives me the ability to also import media and have like this really nice visibility into the storage, or at least the part of the storage that I have access to, right? So in this example here, for example, you can see here's the project that's called Shared Content Library. So I can just double click here on the project and you can see there's a bunch of folders in here. One of these folders being named Japan. So we just go into the Japan folder and here's a bunch of clips. So now what I can do is I can either just double click here on the clip to play it back like this, or I could select one clip or multiple clips, right click, and then just hit import to directly import this here into my Premiere project. So once this is done, I can immediately use the media then in my timeline and start editing. So one thing or one common thing that people do in editing is that they will, navigate or browse to their local camera card or to a local folder and drag and drop media into their project. And this is really not a great thing to do, but we'll talk about this in more detail. But let's just do it here a second. So I'm going to my desktop and I have this Mojo material folder here. And you know what? I just drag and drop this here into my Premiere project. So Andrew, maybe you want to explain why this is bad?
Well, it's not bad. I think it's a sign that we're all human. So I like to say this is such a common use case in any shared collaborative environment, even if you've got two people at desks or edit suites next to each other. This happens from time to time, like, oh, I grabbed a file from the desktop. But the key thing is Strawberry and Skies have been designed to help the next person along in the workflow. Make sure they don't have media offline, because that's wasted time, wasted communication, all that sort of stuff. So
I'm just showing this here on my screen. Hold on, I'm clicking on more options here, and here you can see this Find Unmanaged Assets tab and the list of media that was inside of this folder I've just imported. So what I can do here, and Andrew, I'll get back to you in just a sec, but what I can do here is I can just select all of these files all at once, hit import. And now what's happening is that in the background, all of this media will be copied from my local computer into the correct project on my SkyDrive. And then the master clips are automatically relinked within Premiere so that all the media is online for, as Andrew said, the next person.
So this is one of those, it's such a simple feature. in the Strawberry panel, but it's so powerful. And just for the purposes of this demo, this might typically be switched on by default, but we've turned it off so that we can manually walk through the steps. But yeah, just another one of those awesome, helpful features directly within the Skies system.
Cool. So what I will show next is me sharing the project with my freelancer Andrew, and then Andrew picking up the project and continue working on these media files. So in order to give Andrew access to this project, what I can do here quite easily, and even directly from the panel, I can just select the project that I'm currently working on, which is this Dark Industry Marco PR demo. And then what I will do here is I will click on this tab here on the right hand side, which says Managed Project Access. And now in here, I just want to search for Andrew. And you can see we have Andrew Freelance and Andrew Wiersen here. So I will actually assign this to my colleague Andrew Wiersen and to Andrew Freelance, because they're the same person, but that's a secret. And Andrew will pick it up from here.
Thanks, Marco. And so first things first, if we look into the top left-hand corner, I can see I've got a notification, and I can see that Marco has shared the project with me. And so I can go ahead and browse to that project, and I can open it up. So as Marco experienced, we've got the project launcher. So I know that I need to launch the A project because I'm Andrew. And I'm going to dive a little bit into the panel, the Skies panel, particularly to do with asset search. So obviously I can look for assets based on the name, but what if I don't know the name? Say, for example, we did an interview with a guy called Stan. So I'd like to look for the metadata field Stan. And as we can see, this is all some Canon footage that we recorded. And the reason it's turning up in my results is because of a feature we call contextual search.
Maybe, sorry for interrupting you. Can I quickly chime in?
Sure thing.
Yeah, so contextual search is quite nice, because typically what's happening is when you're ingesting a lot of media, let's say into a MEM, there's kind of like an obligation to tag all of the stuff, right? But of course, nobody's doing this. So what contextual search gives you is the ability to search for media assets based on their project, folder, metadata context. So what this means is, if I create a project for my client here, Stark Industries, right? And this project maybe is a campaign, right? Then Strawberry inherits all of the project metadata down to all the media assets in the project. So if I'm searching for an asset, I don't need to know the name of this particular file or even any metadata of the file. I just search for, hey, this is Stark Industry and the campaign name, and I will find all the assets in the context. Same goes with folders, right? So an asset might be like in a folder called graphics and Photoshop, or like in Andrew's example in the Stanley interview folder. And the reason why he's finding this is because of that context that Strawberry is inheriting to all the media assets for search.
Thanks, Marco. That's awesome. So I can go ahead and build my project out of this footage, which I've identified. Now, the other powerful thing about the Strawberry panel is we can not only search our active data, but we can search our archive too. So we did a thing for NAB last year, where we had a graphic, and I can see that we've returned some results with this little shoebox icon. Now that means that the file itself is actually in the archive, but recalling from the archive, providing I have permission, is as easily as it is to import other media. So retrieving that file from the archive, we may have to wait a teeny bit of time, but then this file gets automatically ingested to the project and I can go ahead and use it. So the real power of Strawberry is the fact that we blur the line between what is active and archive data, because if you can search it, then you should be able to access it.
Thanks, Andrew. Before we actually go ahead with the Avid Media Composer workflow, I'd show a very nice feature in here that is the ability to upload stuff to Skies without having to go through Finder and directly from a web browser. So you can see Google Chrome is open here right now, and you can see the list of projects. This is the project I have recently shared with Andrew. And let's say I want to add some media after the fact here, like the workflow diagram, for example. I can just drag and drop the media here into the browser, wait for a second, and this will then automatically do the upload and then create a proxy file in the background. So that's quite nice, because for people to contribute or upload media, they don't need the Lucidlink client application installed. They can simply do it from a web browser.
Okay, so let's talk about Avid Media Composer. So as well as supporting the Adobe Suite, we support Avid, and I'm just going to go ahead and load our Broadcast Media Composer session, which we created in preparation for this. So while Avid Media Composer is launching, I'm going to talk briefly. So what Strawberry is doing, we're going to create the storage environment where Skies is emulating a Nexus. So that will not only mean that I can run Media Composer on my individual system here, but also I will be able to collaborate with Marco, providing I assign the project to him. Okay, so Avid has launched, and we can see that we've got the session here. It's detected my Avid project files volumes directory. If I go ahead and open that, we will take a look at the sequences bin. And in the top of this bin, we can see we've got the green padlock. So that means we are good to go, and we are we're in bin locking mode. And if I go ahead and I will just drag a piece of media to create a sequence, and if I save this project now, when I switch over to the Strawberry interface, I'm just going to go and assign this project back to Marco. So here we go, Marco. It's over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, cool. The project is just popping up here in my project list on my end. It's the Broadcast MC session. So Andrew is currently working on it, and when I hover here over this persona icon, you can also see this is currently mounted by Andrew MacBook Pro. So I click here on the Open button, and this will then, of course, mount that project. And then in the next step, I would also just open Media Composer. Okay, so once Avid is started, all I want to really do is just to point it to our Avid projects mount point here, which is actually coming from Skies. So we click open, and you can see here we have the Broadcast MC session. So when I double click on a project, it will just open it. And then I have different workspace settings, that's fine. Let's go ahead here. And as you can see, it's immediately bringing me here into this sequence folder. And you can also see that this is currently in lock status. And here with the Media Composer, we can also have a look of who is currently locking the thing. Let me close like a bunch of bins here. And you can see that this is currently locked by Andrew's MacBook. So now, of course, I can create my own bins, right? I can import additional media. And Andrew and I, despite being in different countries, can work on the same Media Composer project at the same time, in real time.
Yeah, there's tons of use cases that hang off this because we've created an Avid Nexus the size of Europe, but a lot of facilities, might need to use this for ingest. So you could have all of that content preparation and ingest that's usually done on like a cheap workstation in a data I/O room. That could all be moved remotely or to a cloud, and then later on in the workflow, this use case could be used as remote conform. So ultimately you can free up resources in edit suites, which where valuable Avid editors need to sit. So we give more time for the creatives to be creative and offload those tasks to sort of the cloud.
Thanks, Andrew. So what has been done here is, so I've exported the file from Media Composer, or the sequence, or parts of the sequence. And I want to look here in the Strawberry UI at this project. You can see that Strawberry has already generated a web streamable proxy, right? Which is great for web consumption. So we can just click on it here, play it back. And now I want to share this with a wider audience. And the way to do this in Strawberry is to actually submit it to a gallery. And the gallery basically is a showroom to which I can invite people for review and approval workflows. So what I'm doing here next is I just right click on the asset and I say share and submit to a gallery. And this goes into our Stark approvals gallery, so we just submit it over there. And then when we go here to the gallery, which is basically one layer up here, you can see the asset popping up right in here. And now we want to request approval. So what I'm doing is I just right click on the asset and I will request the approval right from this context menu. And because Andrew is an approver inside this gallery, he will then get a notification and be able to approve the asset. So here we go, Andrew.
Thanks, Marco. And if we take a look at my top left-hand corner again, notification, I have indeed been requested approval of the asset. So by clicking on the notification, it takes me directly to the asset inside the galleries browser, and I can go ahead and watch that. And then I can just add a comment. This is awesome. And in the top right-hand corner, we can see currently it's under approval, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's approve this. So this asset is now approved.
Thank you.
So now let's jump into the next section. Now we have a happy client because we finished their project. We've approved all the assets and they have taken part in that approval through the gallery system. We can call it finished, and we now need to talk about Project Archive.
Cool, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so you can see I've closed the project here in Strawberry and also in Media Composer. And now here with our user interface, I can just right-click on a project. I can say send to archive. And I can see I have a number of archive endpoints set up here. So we support like various S3 flavors, including Wasabi and AWS. So let's say we actually want to send this to Wasabi. So we just check that box here and then we hit confirm. And now what's happening is that essentially the Strawberry Skies server is moving that project from the Skies drive, which for example is the Lusolink advanced file space, over to a much cheaper archive tier storage, right? So then although the media is in the archive, we can still browse the content directly from here. So let's actually look at this project here, which is also in the archive already, or which is in the archive already. You can see it by the shoebox icon here on the left-hand side. So you can see that although the project is in the archive, all of these media assets are still visible. We can still scrub through all the proxy, preview all the stuff from here. And yeah, and then if I want to bring the project back from the archive or individual assets, I can simply do this here from this UI, which saves me a lot of time and money.
I think just to hang off something you said there, Marco, but it's not just me that gets really excited by this, but this is literally one of Strawberry's killer features that so many of our customers love. It's the fact that in Strawberry, we deal with projects. So everything is a project. And inside those projects, because a project is a complex set of folders, files, different application files, little bits of data. It's not just video files that we're archiving here. We're archiving the entire project. So when we send a project to archive and we want to bring it back in 12, 18, 24 months time, as well as the time saving being able to push the button and send it to and from archive, in the future, we're helping ourselves out because we're not just bringing back those high-res assets, we're bringing back all of the, the creative mess of production. We're bringing out all of the work in progress files, the sequence files, maybe the scripts and all of the little editorial notes. We bring back the whole project, and that's really the strength of Strawberry. Is if we think about the world in terms of these project workspaces, it makes it so much easier for users and everyone involved in projects.
Well said, Andrew. Cool. I think this concludes our section, and then over back to you, folks.
Thanks, guys. Well done, and fabulous demonstration there. I hope you all agree with me. And let's hand over to the live Q&A, for which I'm going to ask my panelists to show their cameras. We do have a number of questions. Please put your questions on the Q&A panel if you have any additional. Not too sure. There's a question here around supporting, does Strawberry Sky support Microsoft Azure ID or Okta? Who'd like to take that question?
Yes, I can answer this. Thanks, Beat. So the short answer is yes, we do. The long answer is we are supporting a multitude of different authentication services, mostly through OpenID Connect, which is a protocol that is supported, for example, by Azure ID and by Okta. So if you're running any of these services and you want to connect Skies with these services, we typically do this through OpenID Connect. I hope this answers the question.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to another question here. Does the system work for graphic workflows and or audio workflows?
Derek, maybe you wanna have a swing on this one?
Sure. The quick answer is yes. So,
Thank you,
so
Derek.
yeah, the great thing about this workflow, and I hope it came through, is because we're actually presenting people with a workspace for those projects. Every application under the sun understands how to work with basically looks like a USB drive. So every application can work with a USB drive. Now, the magic is through our collaboration with SkyDrive, powered by Lucidlink, of course, is we can make the cloud look like that USB drive, which is purpose built for those different creative applications. So it's a long way of kind of answering the question, but yeah, of course, like the example I used before with TUI, we thought it was a complete video workflow in the beginning, and that was why they were working with us. But it turned out a lot of their day-to-day work was actually Illustrator, was actually Photoshop, it's actually InDesign projects and After Effects projects that were designing graphics, and brochures, things like this. So those those users also love this workflow because just everything can work with a local drive. So
do you mind if I hang off the end of that, Derek?
Please, please.
Yeah, because sort of from experience and from talking to customers, I think I almost want to coin the phrase like shadow workflows. So you end up with these like a lot of other systems to us will put these crazy guardrails and almost force productions down the conveyor belt. But the minute you throw in other creative elements, particularly the graphics, the 2D, and all of those supporting elements, localization, that's another example. The minute you try and jump off the conveyor belt in pretty much every other system, the users are sort of penalized. So you end up with like these sort of mainstream MAM workflows, but then this shadow layer of like, oh, by the way, this workflow also includes a Google Drive or like a Dropbox. So thinking of things as this big USB drive that everyone got access to in a project context, it's just as you can tell, it gets me super excited because it helps the whole creative endeavor, not just the video guys.
I think that's
cool.
If I can just add one just hammer that point home, like that is why I was saying at the beginning, we can remove those stops or those different points in the workflow and unify things, because you're not having to push stuff back and forth for different applications. You can really unify things.
So here's another question. How does Strawberry cope with a render farm and deadline, for example, image sequences, versioning, deleting all renders and assets? Essentially, the question is for a CGI workflow, Maya Houdini, deadline, and so on. Who'd like to take that? Marco?
I can take this. I'm feeding my dog here on the side, so he stays calm. So yes, so we deal with render farms quite occasionally. The cool thing about the SkyDrive is that first of all, the path to the media is the same to all of the machines, and this includes also the rendering machines, or the machine that are supposed to do rendering. Of course, there's like different approaches involved in rendering, but without going into too much detail here, yes, it is possible. What we have to do in the setup is we'll have to create a user for this render farm and make sure this user has access through the entire catalog of projects that is hosted on the SkyDrive. And when this is the case, like the handover from the Strawberry Skies application to the render farm is basically the same as in an on-premises storage environment. So from a cloud working perspective or cloud rendering perspective, this is supported. But I don't know who asked the question, but if you're interested in getting more details about this, I'm happy to have a dedicated session about this.
Yeah, what we can do is we have the name, and we can reach out to him, this person, cool, after the event. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
One more question. Can we archive projects to our on-premise LTO library?
Oh, Derek, I think this is one for you.
So the short answer to that is no, with SkyDrive. So this is all kind of cloud focused. So you notice today the archival targets were all kind of cloud destinations, right? But keep in mind, so what we're showing you is what we've built as a cloud first infrastructure with Skies, but we have a core product in Strawberry that's been more of its heritage is on-premise workflows, where we have quite a lot of customers that use LTO libraries for that. Now, that is more of an on-premise workflow, so that archive would be from an on-premise Strawberry system. But, and here's the cool thing we're going to be showing you at NAB, we didn't talk about it today because we're focused on the Skies infrastructure, but what we're building moving forward is the ability to integrate that on-premise workflow of the traditional Strawberry workflow with the cloud-first hosted infrastructure we can provide with Skies, so that users can seamlessly manage both environments, both the cloud infrastructure and the on-premise infrastructure from a single pane of glass, and move projects from the Sky system onto their on-premise system as they see fit. And of course, that system could have the LTO tape library on the back of it. So the short answer to the question was no, certainly not today. But the long answer is, as we build this multi-site infrastructure, you can actually build those kind of architectures moving forward. So stay tuned. We'll be able to support that moving forward.
And you sort of stole my thunder because I was going to talk about NAB. We're done here for time. Thank you for your questions, everybody. If you do have additional questions, of course, you can send to us after the event. Get in touch with us through our website, through our social media. But if you want to find out more, I would start through our website at www.projective.io, where you can find plenty of information about Strawberry Skies and book your own demo as well. And if you happen to go to NAB, then we will be at the South Upper Hall, stand 3057. Derek, Marco will be there, happy to see you and have a chat with you. And with that, we're done for today. Thank you very much to our panelists, Derek, Andrew, Marco, excellent stuff. Thank you to all our attendees. As I said, the recording will be shared with everybody in the next few days. And keep in touch with us. Very happy to have had you here today. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Thank you.